Welcome back. It's the NW Sportscast, the one and only podcast to get all of your amazing Seahawks content. Drew, you gave us your reaction immediately after the game, but a day
Yeah.
later, how are you feeling about that Seahawks huge win over the Cleveland Browns?
I'm feeling very similar. I'm feeling like that was a sloppy game, a game that we probably should have not won, but it was a good game nonetheless. As far as we got a win in the column that we needed to get it in. The Niners lose, we take advantage of their 3 game skid, and all of a sudden, your Seattle Seahawks are on the top of the NFC West division. And I cannot overstate how huge that is for team morale, for what we do at the trade deadline. We're going to talk about what happened about the Leonard and Williams trade. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, this is huge. Geno Smith didn't play great. I still think Geno Smith didn't play good, even after reevaluating it a day later. But look, he didn't play absolutely awful outside of the 2 interceptions, which again, it's kind of a caveat for sure because that's 2 big interceptions. He could have had a third, which could have been a pick six, and that could have completely swung the momentum in the Browns' favor. But yeah, it was good. Throwback uniform, W gang, let's go. Levi, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I thought the stats very much an average Geno Smith performance. He does end up with 2 touchdowns, although, you know, that second touchdown pass was really just more of Jackson Smith Najigma being really evasive. Geno didn't do a whole lot on that one. And like you said, 2 interceptions, but there's the possibilities of a couple more that were fortunately dropped.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Like
he
the
kind of
straight drop too.
escaped.
Like,
I feel like he just escaped that game. Like he was like a very average performance, but it could have been a very below average performance. I'm really happy though with the way that this team showed resiliency. I haven't seen that yet this season because in the Rams game, the minute we went down, we crumbled. We crumbled in the second half. And when we were getting beat by the
yeah.
Rams, we didn't fight back. We let them beat us up. And then the same thing happens against the Bengals. The minute we went down in that game, it was like Shane Waldron forgot how to call plays and the offense forgot that they were actually trying to win. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yes.
so, and our wins, we had the lead the entire game against the Panthers and against the Giants and against the Cardinals. So that was not we didn't really have to fight for those wins. Against the Browns, they made us fight for it. They made us earn it. And as annoying as it was to watch us punt 4 drives and throw 2 interceptions, we went 6 drives without getting a first down. But in the fourth quarter, it was like all of a sudden Shane Waldron woke up from his little nap and it was like, oh, 20-yard pass to Tyler, 20-yard pass to Jake Bobo. Here we go. And then
Yeah.
Noah Fant gets in the action with a 25-yard pass that set up the game-winning touchdown. I've never been happier to watch Noah Fant catch a football than I was yesterday in the fourth quarter with a minute left in the game. Like that was one of his best moments as a Seahawk. So yeah, that was as annoying as the second and third quarters were. I'm very happy after this win.
Yeah, there's some definitely interesting stuff to look at in this game other than just the Geno Smith performance. Something that really stood out to me, Levi, K9, 8 carries for 66 yards. But is he to blame? I mean, that's the question I asked you. He only got 8 opportunities in the first drive for the Seahawks. He was a big part of that drive, and then we really just kind of didn't give him the ball. Um, I don't know exactly what happened there. Of course, we also gave the ball to Charbonnet a little bit, which took some carries away. But even when you look at it from that point of view, only 8 carries to Kenneth Walker, in my opinion, is kind of unacceptable as a play caller and Shane Waldron. I don't know if Geno Smith audibled out of a few. I don't know if it's because we got in a lot of third and longs type scenarios, but you could argue that we got in those scenarios because we didn't give the ball to Kenneth Walker, who it's not like he got stuffed at the line for his 8 carries he had, Levi. We can see what it is, but he averaged 8 yards a carry, and Zach Charbonnet averaged 10. And you're telling me between those two guys, there's only 13 carries. I'm very interested to see what you have to say about this because That's kind of a red flag to me from an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, well, we have seen this in last week's game. When you look at the Falcons, Bijan Robinson only got like 2 carries for them, and it came out the next day that Bijan Robinson had a stomach ache. Maybe it's a similar situation here. Maybe K9 wasn't feeling
For both
great.
running backs.
Well, Charbonnet didn't really get involved till the end there, and he had that one really good rush that kind of set his numbers. And to be fair, that was Charbonnet's best game as a Seahawk. I'm really happy. We finally that I mean, I don't know if I would say it's his breakout game, but this is the first game where he actually outperformed Kenneth Walker, and he did. Charbonnet was getting involved, so I hope that continues because that was a pretty high draft pick. But
You
as
think
far
he
as
outperformed K9?
well, he had 10 fewer yards and 3 less carries, and he also had 2 receptions, 11 yards on the receiving game. So he got involved. He's in the game. As far as K9 goes, though, yeah, I wonder maybe maybe he wasn't feeling great. Maybe he suffered kind of a minor injury. I don't really know, but it was really weird because he had a really good run on the very first drive, and then after that,
Yeah.
it was like where did he go? What happened? What did he do?
Yeah, I'm interested to see if the injury report is already out, Levi. Um, Maybe he got, a small ankle issue or something along the lines where he still could play, but they didn't feel like they wanted to overwork him or something. Either way, I don't think Geno Smith was playing well enough where you could argue that, okay, K9's hurt, let's just give the ball to Geno. I think
Yeah.
they do go to Charbonnet. I think Charbonnet is a good enough second back where he can take a workhorse type of load, and then you don't have to rely on Geno Smith being some superstar quarterback because he's not one. I mean, he had a really good play. His first touchdown, I mean, that was sweet. Juke two different defenders, hopped over one, and then threw a nice little touch pass to Tyler Lockett in the corner of the end zone. I mean, that was a probably the best play I've seen Geno Smith make this year. But you cannot rely on Geno Smith to make those Herculean efforts all game long. And you can see after the first quarter, we put up 7 points.
Yeah. I think another part of it is just the offense wasn't really in a groove at all. So they were just kind of trying new things. I mean, when you don't get any yards on first down, which is what was happening a lot.
But why were we not
Um,
running the ball in first down then? I mean,
I
they
don't
we
know.
weren't getting stopped. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we got a little too aggressive in the passing game, and it did not help, and it didn't work out for us. But luckily, we did get the win, and hopefully, they will, learn from this and move on. I do want to ask you, Drew, how impressed are you with our rookie receivers? This is now the third game in a row that Jake Bobo has scored a touchdown, and it's the second game in a
Yeah.
row that Jackson Smith Najigma. I mean, if not for those two guys, we may have lost the Cardinals game and the Browns game. Our rookie receivers are shining right now.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I think first time in Hawks history that two rookie receivers had touchdowns in the same game. So yeah,
And
they're
then we
looking
did it again
really.
the next week.
I know. I mean, they're looking really really good. Um, Look, they I'm not going to act like they put up 150 yards. I mean, they still only
No.
had um 3 receptions for 36 for JSN, and Bobo had 2 for 23. He also did have, and they counted it as a rush, I guess, for his touchdown. I thought it was a little bit more of a touch pass type thing, but either way, they don't need to be stars right now because they're not. You have Tyler Lockett, and you have DK Metcalf, and you're 1 and 2. And the fact that our wide receiver 3 and 4 are contributing in the way they are speaks volume. It speaks volume to our depth because there's a great chance that DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett might miss another couple of games like you saw last week. It speaks volume to how well we can draft wide receivers. We've shown it in the last, in the John Schneider era. He's consistently found weapons for Russell Wilson and now for Geno Smith. And it speaks volume to how far we can get this season. Look, weapons kill in the NFL. When you look at all the best teams, they have a lot of weapons. You look at the Niners, you look at the Dolphins, you look at the Eagles. Um, you know, the Chiefs is kind of an outlier there, but you could argue their offense isn't rolling right now because they don't have as many weapons as they're used to. They're relying on guys like Rice. What's his name? What were a couple receivers for the Chiefs, Levi?
They've got Rice, Watson, Sky
Yeah,
Moore.
I mean
Yeah, not
Sky Moore. I
great.
mean they're not
Marquez Valdez-Scantling is their number one.
exactly, and you could argue that's why. So this speaks volume to how far the Seahawks could get that we're getting production out of guys like Jake Bobo. I mean, come on. I mean,
I
that is
mean,
crazy.
you could argue right now that our fourth receiver would be the number one receiver on the Chiefs.
Yeah, Jake Bobo could be having a great year with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs there. He just seems to get open. Like I've said in the past, he ran a 4.65 or something around that, the combine, one of the slowest reported wide receiver times in the draft. And that's the reason he didn't get drafted. But when you get into the red zone and when you need just a 4 yard in route, who's your guy? Jake Bobo. He's not going to beat you over the top, but he doesn't need to. That's not his game. So I've been very surprised by both these guys, especially so happy for JSN. Finally, after 5 weeks of mediocrity, below mediocrity, to be honest with you, he started to turn it on. I think the pressure of being a first round pick is starting to alleviate for him. Super happy for both those guys.
Yeah, I think, we saw Chris Olave last season for the Saints have a really slow start. And then what happened? Second half of the season with Andy Dalton taking over for them at quarterback. And
Yeah.
Chris Olave had one of the best second halves of any receiver. And really he ended up having 1,000-yard season for the
Yeah. Was
Saints.
he rookie of the year or he was in the
He
conversation?
was in the conversation. I
Yeah.
think Garrett Wilson actually was offensive rookie of the year, but uh Chris Olave ended up turning it on at the second half, and I think that happens to a lot of first round picks. It might be a little bit of a welcome to
Both
the
former
NFL
teammates too.
phase.
Both former
Yes,
teammates
former
in JSN
teammates.
and Chris Olave. So I
That's
mean,
true.
similarities there too.
And JXN supposedly was the best of the three in college. Hopefully, he can be the best of the three in the NFL. Yeah, it's interesting because last year, DK Tyler, they were both top 20 receivers in the NFL. This season, neither of them right now statistically are even in the top 30. However, we're one of, I think, only three teams that has four guys right now who are top 75 fantasy wide receivers. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of depth.
Yeah, that's great. Levi, before we finish off this video, Leonard Williams gets traded to the Seattle Seahawks for a 2024 second round pick and a 2025 fifth round pick. What's your reaction from that? My reaction has actually changed since it initially came out. So I want to hear yours first, though.
All right. Well, I posted a video about this, about a 14-minute long video. If you guys want to check that one out a little bit more, my in-depth, but essentially my take is this. I'm happy that we made a trade. I think it helps us get better. I also don't think that Leonard Williams adds us the ability to beat the Eagles or the 49ers on the road, which I think is ultimately what we have to do if we want to make the Super Bowl. And I think that, I think we can beat the Cowboys. I think we can beat them with or without Leonard Williams. I think we can beat the Lions again. We've already done it once, with or without. But ultimately, if you're trying to get to a Super Bowl, you have to get through the Niners and the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't think Leonard Williams gets you there. And so I think that, trading a second round pick, I understand the desire to get better. This does improve your team, but Leonard Williams has one sack this season. He's not going to come in and change the game for us in the same way that Carlos Dunlap did a couple of years ago. He's not going to be the same as, if we had gone out and given up 2 first rounders for Chase Young. I know sometimes I get critical about giving up draft capital, or in baseball, I get critical giving up prospects, but I really think that if it's worth it, it's worth it. I'm just not sure if this necessarily is going to end up being worth it, but I'm excited to see what he can do. So I don't want to say it was a win or a loss for either team just yet. I'm just saying, throw some caution to the wind, but I'm excited to see how he plays. But what's your take, Drew?
I think this was the right move for the Seahawks. I would have loved it to be a third round pick instead of a second round pick, but the way the season's going, that pick is going to be somewhere between 55 and 60, 62. I mean, that it's not going to be really. I mean, we drafted D. Eskridge with that type of pick, and look what he's turned out to be. And I really don't care about the 2025 fifth round pick. Special teams player at
Yeah,
best.
that one doesn't matter.
So when you really look at it, Leonard Williams rental, it's not something to be super excited about. But when you have Uchenna Nwosu who was out for the season, he's this is gonna really help you. He's not gonna get sacks. He's not gonna get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, but he's an interior. I mean, he's a defensive tackle. He's not a DN, so he'll help with the run game. Um, he might get a couple more sacks this season. The Browns really ran on us in that fourth quarter there. I think that kind of speaks to the lack of depth we have on the defensive line. Guys started to get tired, and our backups aren't able to step in and be good enough to effectively stop the run game. And I think now Leonard Williams is just another piece we can add to do that. I mean, this guy is not a scrub in any sense of the word. Yes, in 2020 at 11 and a half sacks, and since then he's just completely fallen off a cliff. But that's one stat, and you can change the game in other ways than just sacks. You got Frank Clark, you got Leonard Williams, both guys that aren't elite. Leonard Williams, I'd say, is good, and Frank Clark, I'd say, is slightly below average. But both guys that you throw in there and they'll do their job effectively. And I think we're a better football team now. This John Schneider didn't wait until the trade deadline. He wanted them now. He wanted them to play against. He wanted Leonard Williams to play against the Ravens. I like it. Again, kind of steep price, but we're trying to win this year, and this helps us get better.
Yeah, I mean, if Leonard Williams makes a big difference and we beat the Ravens, or even if we lose to the Ravens, but if we then go on a big winning streak, against the Rams, Commanders, Niners, Cowboys, which I think we can do, and if Williams plays a big role in that, then it's a win of a trade. Um, I would like to see Seattle make one more move. I think that you can, because Frank Clark, I don't know if that really counts. He barely played against the Browns. He might just be getting adjusted though. Um, Leonard Williams is going to be good for the defense. I still think that we could always use one more guy for the O line. Go out and trade a fourth round
Yes,
pick. There's lots of teams that are selling, right? The
actually did pretty good
the
against Miles Garrett though, which is
the Patriots, they might be selling, right? The Giants we already know are selling. You've got the Packers. The Packers have O linemen. They might be selling. Call up some of those teams. The Cardinals. The Cardinals are trying to get Caleb Williams. They might be selling. They have a decent line.
they
Call
are
up
right.
call up
Guaranteed.
one of those teams and offer a third or a fourth round pick. I'm not saying go trade a bunch of firsts, but I would trade a fourth round pick for another offensive lineman because you at this point, all the help you can get. But other than that, like Jason Peters, 41 years old, he played pretty well. I was surprised. He was
Yeah,
out there like more than half the game. He was putting up a good fight against a really tough
yeah. The
defensive line.
broadcast
Like
love to point to him. Oh,
this
this is
guy
20
is so
year.
old.
But no, every time the broadcast mentioned him, my eyes for the next play was on an offensive lineman because I was like,
Yeah.
can this guy play? And I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
You could not
I mean,
convince
he's
me.
gonna be
Yeah,
in the Hall of Fame most likely
yeah.
someday. Wouldn't
Uh,
that be a nice way to go out and win a Super Bowl with the CX? I get ahead of myself though.
yeah. I think I might do it here, but uh,
Yeah.
yeah. My closing thoughts is I still think that we should be in trade talks too. I don't really want to give up any first round picks outside of maybe if we get Chase Young, which I definitely think we should still be in the conversation for. But I don't really know if the Commanders are even quote unquote sellers.
They're only a game out.
I mean,
A half a game out.
they barely lost to the Eagles. So that's an interesting kind of conundrum there. But if they're willing to sell Chase Young for a first, I actually would do that. I think he's that much of an impact player.
Yeah.
That is a guy where I think could change your chances of beating the Eagles or the Niners.
Yeah.
Um, Leonard
Totally
Williams,
agree.
I understand your concern, and I understand like, okay, well, we can't beat the Eagles or Niners with or without Leonard Williams, so what's the point? I kind of have to disagree with you there. Yes, he's not going to be some amazing impact player like Nick Bosa, where it's like, wow, that guy just won you the football game. But 3rd and 3, game on the line, Leonard Williams might help you out there. It's stopping Christian McCaffrey getting 2.5 yards instead of 3.5. I don't know. It's just small things in football. You just really never know. And Leonard Williams could make that just small difference to beat the Eagles by 3 points or the Niners by a couple of inches. So and that's kind of my closing thoughts there. Yeah, we're going to be doing a power rankings show on our Coast to Coast Sports. If you haven't already checked that out, please do. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. We are trying to just focus Northwest sports here. We don't post as much on the Coast to Coast Sports, obviously, just because it's harder to do both channels. But if you want to continue watching us do power rankings and we try to do some other stuff, but we're kind of inconsistent. But anyways, if you want, go to Coast and check out Levi's Leonard Williams if you want more insight on that. You also posted a Kraken thing, I think I saw.
Yeah, we got our Kraken updates.
Yeah, which I'm gonna be
Trying to
getting.
do those once or twice a week.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna be giving a listen to that. So do that with me. And as always, Levi, what should they do down below?
Like, subscribe, and please leave a comment. We love answering you guys' comments. We love seeing all of you guys' comments down in the comment section. We've been seeing quite a few coming in lately. That's been super fun.
Yeah.
So comment down below. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Do you think that Leonard Williams changes this team for the better? Do you think that Seattle's going to get Kenneth Walker back in the mix next week? Is he going to be okay? And yeah, just let us know all your thoughts. We love to hear them.
Yes, of course. All right, that'll do it, folks. This is the NW Sportscast, the zero ad Northwest sports content that you're looking for. Play it on the way to work, play it on the way to school, whatever you want. No ads, and we're having a fun time posting consistently. Thank you guys for watching. Go Hawks.